That is a continued meeting from our earlier meeting on the remind me of the date.
I believe it was the 25th, Your Honor.
Last week, Monday.
All right. So it was yes, it was the 25th, and so it is continued meeting from then. Will the administrative director please call roll?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we'll begin with yourself, Chief Justice, Chairman of the committee.
I'm present.
Member Donna Munya-Kanata.
I'm present.
Member President Jackie Terlahi.
Present.
Okay, and I believe the CJ said PJ will be logging on shortly.
He's there.
Presiding judge is here.
Oh, presiding judge, Vice Chairman.
Present.
And last, Dr. Christiana Whitman.
She is absent. She may be joining us later. Actually, our meeting that we had, this is a continued meeting from April 21st, which was Monday. And so this is a notice was provided before we recessed. And this is the continued meeting. We were under new business, which was for the presentation of the budget at the request of the executive director. We recessed the meeting so that they could get the budget updated based on comments they had received. And so we're going to go through the budget presentation now for the benefit of the Board of Trustees. And will you be doing that budget presentation, Shane?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll go ahead and start the presentation and we'll go through the budget details.
Yeah, we finished all the old business the last time with all the reports. And so we're just now in the new business.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. We'll get the presentation up. So thank you, Chief Justice and other members of the board. So what we have today is basically a summary of what we're requesting for FY26. This will include all divisions, public defender, alternate public defender, civil law center, and what we're proposing as a budget for the private attorney panel, pending the outcome of Bill 97-38. Next slide.
And the public hearing on that bill will be this afternoon at 2:00.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. So our first slide is just an overall breakdown of the request from all sections. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and have each individual managing attorney go through the respective budgets. I did ask if Ms. Annie can go ahead and start with APD's budget to go through their details, but this is a breakdown. The total budget request, including the proposal for the private attorney panel, comes out to about 12.5 million, which is approximately 2.6 million more than what we had last year. But we'll go through the individual sections. I'll ask APD to go first, then the Civil Law Center, and then we'll get to the PD and the PAT budget afterwards. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Sorry, Your Honor. This is a breakdown of the increases. Sorry, Annie.
No worries.
This is just to show in dollar value and percentage what the increases look like for all sections. So with PD in totality, we're asking for an increase of $726,000, which is a 10% increase. We're looking at an increase in 10% personnel and operations of 6%. APD, an increase of 147, which is an 8% increase. CLC, 159,000, which is a 17% increase, and PAP is a brand new proposal. So to assist Annie, I'll move on to the next slide. And here we have APD's request.
Okay, so our request is, here we go, 1.977377. We're on the fourth column. And the increase basically is, most of it, for personnel costs, the 7% increase comes up because there's a 4% unfunded liability for retirement that goes across the board for all the Guam employees. So that's mostly where the increase comes. In our operations, we do have a 16% increase. Can you put it to the page 24 of the budget?
No, that's just a summary. Just go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. Anyway, so our biggest increase comes in operations from, we have a $4,000 increase for Westlaw. We had to add one more person, and now and we're using the AI in Westlaw. And our other big increase.
What are you using there, Annie? Are you using Westlaw Precision or do you know?
Yes, it's Westlaw Precision.
Okay.
And there was an increase, 25% on that one. We are also transitioning our case management system to a cloud-based server, and that's the bulk of our operations increase. Everything else is, we've had the same status quo for everything else, rollover from last year and the previous budgets. So because of the increase of 20,349 for those two things, that's where our main increase comes for our budget.
All right.
Everything else, pardon me?
For the purposes of for the benefit of the board, in the packet today, it is on page 24 of 107 is the details. So the packet that was sent out has that budget where she's talking about the 28,356 for the salary increments and special pay for employees. That's just standard. And then you had the 96,252 for benefits, Annie. And
Yes.
Is that just based on the difference, the increase in the retirement contribution amount?
That plus everything else, the retirement, health, life insurance, and that's just organic growth.
All right, the circular came out, I think it's 34 points something. It's about a 4% increase on the health retirement contribution. So that will probably be adjusted next month, and we'll know. And obviously that may be subject to change. And then the operation side, the Westlaw increase, case management, Microsoft 365, the leases, and then what is that $3,000? It says supplies and materials.
Is that the next page?
Yeah, that's on page 25.
That's our normal. I mean, usually we've had it a little bit higher than that, but I think, right, we usually have it. We usually have it a little bit higher than that, at least 5,000 to 8,000, but we're trying to keep our costs. Go ahead.
So last year we reduced our supplies and materials because we were concentrating on the defibrillator, mandated defibrillator for the offices. So this year everyone keeps asking me for supplies. I keep telling them hold off because we had to do an adjustment. So now we're just asking for it back for next fiscal year.
So the total increase is an 8% increase over last year's level.
Correct.
All right. Any questions for APD on their budget summary?
I just have one quick question. I wanted to see, was this a mistake, the replacement of a copier and the lease of a copier? There's two line items, both for.
No, that's not a mistake. So right now we currently have the Alta Link, and that's the 3,300 for the year. And we have another machine that's already obsolete. So we're trying to replace it. And that's what we would need to replace it. We don't have, yeah.
Okay, no, and I just noticed that it was exactly the same amount for the same. So that's what its intention is, to just replace it with one of the other ones you. already.
That's correct.
Okay. That was the only question I had.
Thank you.
All right. What is the preference of the board? Would they like to vote on each budget separately? Or and so we vote on the APD budget now and then move on to the next budget?
I would prefer that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right, so let's.
Do you want us
let's-
to motion?
Yes.
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve the APD budget was submitted by, Annie Gale.
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded for a fiscal year 2026 budget request of, as indicated, of 1.977377. Looking at an 8% increase over last year's budget as quantified on the pages 24 and 25 of the budget submission. All those in favor say aye.
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 There being no objection, that budget passes. All right, we'll now go to the CLC budget. And for purposes of the board, what pages will that be on?
For purposes of the board, it'd be pages 46, 47, 48, 49,
Okay.
down.
All right, so starting on there, page 46.
To page all the way down to 59, I believe.
All right, so you have a summary as well prepared, and then you can go through the summary and then we can look at the detail.
So basically what we're requesting for this fiscal year is 1,109,819 is what we're asking for. It shows an increase of about 16.77% from the requested budget and allotted budget we got last year. For personnel, we're requesting 972,352. That includes organic growth of which is the increments of the employees, as well as the increase in retirement contributions from 30.77 to 34.8%. That actually so the difference from last year's budget in personnel was about 84,794. Of that amount, the retirement increase was about 40,000. Half of that amount is because of the retirement increase, Your Honor. For operations, last year we requested, well, last year we were allotted 67,735. I looked in last year's board meeting minutes because I do recall that we had initially cut off about $50,000 because we were not able to justify whether that was part of the federal or part of our local funding. And when I looked back, it is part of the local funding. It was part of our equipment and supplies cost. And that's why you see the increase of it to 137,467 being asked for this year in this year's budget. And so 69, that's a $69,000 increase. The reason is because our rental and office space was originally covered by ARPA funds because the federal grant money is not able to cover. And so because now we've assumed that cost, that was a 35,802, but we're requesting an additional 14,000 as we do have a small, tight office space here right now. And it's the hopes that we can get at least an increase in size as we develop the programs that we're going to be developing for the community. And basically,
Is there space available there?
no, we've been talking to, we've asked the tenants and we looked at space, but we're hoping that there's a section here that's next to us, which is a small storage area, but I don't know if there's anything they can do about it, but we do want to, we want to at least have that conversation if something opens, because there is one office upstairs that's not being used, that's just being held right now by, and I think that is actually the landlord, the father's space that is being held, that's not being used. So that's really the reason why you see the budget. So if you look at last year's budget, we actually requested 1,031,000, but we were cut that 50-some thousand off of it because we weren't able to justify it. We've provided the justifications on pages 48 and 49 that justifies our contractual expenses. It justifies the office rent space. It justifies the amounts being requested on all the other categories. Last year we weren't able to do that. This year, I just wanted to point out that we did provide it, and that's the reason it kind of looks like we're asking for more money, but in essence, we asked for it last year and we were cut in an area that we weren't able to justify, which is our fault. But now we're justifying it, and we want to ensure that it's included in the budget. Because we anticipate possibly getting cut with the federal grants.
All right, you have gotten no indication about, right now you show the offset in the federal grants of about 230 some thousand.
220, that's correct, Your Honor.
All right, can you go back to the summary? The summary sheet,
Yes.
I think, shows that.
It's a
Sorry,
226,971.
Is there detail on the federal grant programs that we're receiving here in the budget? In the budget?
It's not in that. We can provide that to you.
Okay.
It's actually based on the contractual. We actually have an MOU with the Department of Public Health and Social, the DSC. But it's basically the contractual includes travel. I know that we've included a section here that's the federal, and that is going to be on page. Sorry. It is on page 58, Your Honor, and 59. That's the federal grants money. So what it does is it funds the salary of employees as well as off-island travel, some supplies and some materials as well as equipment.
And you've got to know new information on these grants.
So for the STOP grant, so ICGR, Your Honor, is no longer available. The STOP grant was actually cut, but that again is very specific to who it funds. And then DSC, they're currently at the aging conference in Florida, and they were told that they are looking at this soon and cutting grants that are under the HHS. So there's a possibility that we may get cut.
Okay. Any questions for Carol?
Carol, I'm looking at page 59 on the proposed federal grant side.
Correct.
So our projected anticipation of being cut, we're still anticipating 2 more hires on the limited term. Is that right?
No, those positions are currently the positions are filled by workers already.
Yes, so that's my question. So these particular amounts, these are excluded, or at least it's included in your budget as other amounts that come in. So even though we have an increase of 200,000+, it's almost the equivalent of what we would get in grants. So if we lost the grant, we've allotted for that increase already in the budget.
Not necessarily. What's gonna help, what will happen is the budget would be able to at least fund our supplies and materials, because I think we relied a lot too on the federal for our, the papers that come out of it. So it's not going to fully cover that amount. It just means, these are limited term contracted under the federal. So it might mean cutting of hours or whatnot, but we'll determine that when the grant information is given to us.
These staffing amounts under the grant program is 205. The balance of the 226 or whatever was showing is, what is that used for?
That's used, so 10,000 on the one page, Your Honor, that I mentioned, I think it's page 59. 10,000 goes to travel, 5,000 I think is equipment and supplies. I want to make sure that I look at the right page.
Oh, here it is. It's page 58. So 10,000 is the off-island travel, 5,000 supplies, 6,400 to
Equipment.
equipment, and then the total operations is 226 with 205. So if this grant gets cut, those LTAs potentially might be cut.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's,
Any questions?
Yeah, I do.
All right, PJ.
Carol, on those two positions that are being funded by the grant,
Yeah.
you see they're cut. We'll be asking supplemental appropriation for the legislature. So we-
Currently we have staff that's capable of, we would carry out with our duties and mandates, under the law. This is the Elder Justice Program. I think, you know, the Civil Law Center holds that as a priority. So we continue those services, but eventually, yes, Your Honor, we would probably need to ask for, supplemental funding, maybe in the next budget. But I think, I'm hopeful that if we get cut, we're going to be able to at least maintain part-time status of the staff.
So at least we're good for one fiscal year. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, Your Honor, we are.
Okay, so we'll have to worry about that a year from now.
We don't have to. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
We hope.
Yeah.
We hope, yeah, we
All
hope.
right. Any further questions?
No.
All right, so can we entertain a motion on this one?
Move to approve the Civil Law Center budget as proposed by Carol.
All right, there's a motion to approve the Civil Law Center fiscal year 2026 budget request in the amount of 1,109,819 as set forth in the summary and in the budgets from page 46 to 59. All those in favor say aye.
We have a second. Is there a
Oh,
second?
yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't get a second. Can I second to that
Sure.
PJ's motion?
second,
Second by Attorney Trustee Talahi. All in favor say aye.
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 There being no objection, that budget passes. All right, we'll now entertain the next budget. What will that be?
Thank you, Your Honor. That'll be the budget for the public defender, the main office. Okay, so for the printout or for the board packet, you're looking at pages 60 to 98. Those are all the details that we're going to go through. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start with our summary. So overall, we're asking for a total increase of $726,827. And that includes both personnel and operations. I'll go into some detail for the personnel part. Okay. This is a breakdown of our requests and the amounts that we're looking at for each category. So for personnel expenses, it's a 10% increase to the tune of $633,000. For operations, it's a 6% increase at $50,000 approximately. And we do have budgeted utilities that we didn't have last year at $43,200. I can go through the details for that with a total increase of $726,000 or 10%. Okay. Okay, moving on to personnel services. So overall, we requested for an additional $633,000. As discussed by the other divisions, a bulk of that comes from the unfunded liability. It's 34.8%, which is an increase of 4.03%. Total number cost-wise for PD, we were looking at a difference of about 232,000. So yes, CJ, we are hoping that the number comes down later on this year, so we can adjust those further down. That's round about 36% of our total requested cost for increase in personnel. So that, in addition to salary increments, merit bonuses are included also in our organic growth. But the other bigger portion of our requests under personnel services are for positions to address attrition. We do have some employees that are reaching, the tail end of, careers. And as such, we'd like to try and plan ahead for that. We are asking for an additional position to cover the appointment of an 8th judge. And since I got here, just looking at the administrative side of things, there are some gaps that we need to fill that haven't been addressed. So with that, these are the 3 positions we're requesting, new positions for our budget. An accountant 1, currently as it stands right now, Mr. Mike is by himself. So we are trying to get a professional level accountant in so that he can start training and transitioning those duties. A lot of that deals with, of course, not just recording and reporting, but dealing with the audits and, the different accounting standards that we need as we go through for all divisions, not just PD. He does assist APD, CLC, and should, the bill go through, will also be involved and integral with the PAP, the private attorney panel. Personnel specialist 1, we are trying to build capacity there with a lot of the changes outside of the routine duties like onboarding and activities like that. There are other organizational needs that we can actually have our HR, our PS4 work on. Should attrition occur in that section, we do need to pass down that institutional knowledge. So the plan is to bring in a specialist 1 to go ahead and, if necessary, start from the ground up. But depending on what the applicant pool looks like, we may be able to get an experienced personnel specialist 1 that can help us with that attrition. The attorney 3 is to help with the appointment of the 8th judge. And in general, that is what we're looking at for the new positions in personnel. Moving on to operations. Operations, we do have a combined, basically a combined 96A form on pages 62 and 63 that breaks down in all the different categories through all the different sections in PD, what we're looking at as far as operations are concerned. To highlight some of our bigger investments that we're looking at, much of what we have in operations are rolling over from previous year. Well, the main investments we're looking at are on our MIS side of the house. Currently, we have a committee established looking at our case management software. As I understand, it's kind of reaching its end of its shelf life and support. So we're looking at possible upgrades or maybe the necessity to move on to a new case management software. So we do have a committee working on that. So we've budgeted approximately $48,000, which would be to cover the transition if need be and the migration of any information, depending on which route the committee determines we should take for the case management software. The other investment we're making, our current email exchange also needs to be addressed. So we're addressing email and the transition to Microsoft 365 as our platform, to help us. There's a lot inside the enterprise solution that can help us operate more efficiently as far as emails and integration to other softwares that we'll need to operate. So we're looking at that, and we budgeted approximately $10,700 for that transition. One of the key decreases that we've got previously, we had a contract attorney budget that I believe was as high as $110,000. We did bring it down to $84,000, but after reassessing the budget, we took it out of the budget altogether, considering that we're going to try and make some personnel changes. So we tried to balance the increases in technology with what we were paying for as far as contract attorneys. And with the, I guess, whatever the result is with the bill, we'll see what other changes need to be made after that's done. But in general, those are the big changes that we see in the operational budget.
You had utilities of 43,200.
Yes.
An increase in that. What is that for?
Thank you, Your Honor. That's the office space. So currently, because we will have to go out for bid, I believe this next fiscal year, just for our own operations as it stands. So depending on how the impact of the bill comes out, whether or not we need more space or not, we're putting some utility budget in there. Currently, the way our lease works is we don't need a utility budget, but if we step out of our current footprint, then we want to be ready in case we need to have some sort of budget for that.
But we're not. When does our lease expire?
We're actually on month to month, but And we've been paying like 2019 rent, like for the last 6, 7 years. And so I think we really do need to do an IFP and, we might end up paying market rate now.
Yeah, we're hoping not, but, yeah, we do need to go out for bid. So that's to cover those expenses, that we're anticipating may come once we go out to bid for office space. And then, Jay, can we go back to the slide? Okay. Yes.
I'm
there's
just
the-
wondering because it seems to be in a, you know, we're not clear what we're gonna do with our office space now. You know, whether that should be in there. What do we have allocated for rent currently?
Allocated for rent currently, we are at,
Where's our rent?
yeah, so what we were authorized was.
So the rent includes the utilities currently, right?
That's correct.
That's
That's
correct.
correct. Yeah, we're round about 225,000. And that includes the utilities.
Yeah.
You're right, Your Honor. This is something we've discussed, right? We put it in so at least we can have the discussion for impact on the budget. We do see that, you know, if it is something that we need to reconsider, we're definitely willing to, but we wanted to make sure that we cover all ends depending on where we might end up. So yeah, if it's something we need to revisit, we can always revisit utilities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that maybe since we don't know yet what we're going to do and we haven't made an adjustment to any rental amount, that maybe we don't do the utilities now and just keep the rent since utilities are already included with the rent. And it's gonna take us time anyways to do the IFB and figure out the move. We're not gonna do it immediately, right? So, I mean, the landlord's been pretty comfortable with us and hasn't indicated any desire to get rid of us, right?
No.
Yeah. And I think they've been good landlords and we've had a good relationship with them, so, you know.
Yeah,
I'm just-
I think we can do that, Your Honor.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think about, you know, trying to be as frugal as we can, hearing all the things that are coming up, and we still obviously have the private attorney panel to address.
And Your Honor, so, but we definitely do need more space, so if we plan on keeping the current footprint and maybe getting a smaller space for our admin division, and if the private attorney panel gets funded, then obviously they'll have a little office space there as well. But we could definitely, we could remove them.
Yeah, okay, so if we do remove it, Your Honor, then we're looking at a total increase of 683,000 in totality to include personnel, instead of the 726,000. So we can remove it. We're good. Yeah, we'll remove it and we'll adjust it.
Okay.
On the private attorney panel, is the operations, is that for the attorney fees?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct, PJ. Sorry, I think I clicked too
Yeah,
quickly.
can you clarify that? Because if the legislature says operations, why do you have a big budget for, you know?
Yeah,
for
no, it
private
was,
attorney? I think we should clarify, saying, paying private attorney fees or something.
Yes,
Justify that matter, because operations means why do you need 1.5 million in the budget to operate a
Yes,
private attorney panel? It doesn't make sense. So maybe clarify instead of saying operations, because when I see operations, I see, you know, the operations of the agency. So can we clarify that and saying that will be to pay off to pay the attorney private attorney fees for the private attorney panel?
Yes.
So that the
we'll make that-
legislature, when they see that, doesn't, you know, it doesn't flag things.
Yes, we'll make that clarification. And sorry, I think I clicked too quickly. I wanted to see if there's any other questions on the main PD budget, and then I can talk a little bit more about the private attorney panel budget
Yeah.
afterwards.
Okay.
All right.
I have a
All right.
question on the request for attorney 3 position and the justification that because of an 8th judge was appointed. Is that the justification for another attorney?
Yes, Your Honor. So when the 8th judge was appointed 2 years ago, we did not ask for any increase in attorneys despite having an additional courtroom to cover. And so, but at this point, just to help with coverage, we also are covering 2 magistrates that are regularly having hearings during the week as well. So,
Yeah, because my concern is that, because of the new case assignment rule, 3 of our judges don't handle any more criminal matters, if any. I know one judge has literally no criminal matters, and the other 2 judges have remnants of a previous assignment. So I don't see that as a great justification for attorney 3 panel. However, if you're going to get rid of the contract attorney
yeah.
Position, then that's a good way to justify an attorney 3 position. If the contract attorney, you no longer contract attorneys for various matters. Is that
And that's what
why?
That's what, Your Honor, we pretty much struck the contract attorney amounts and instead are asking for an attorney 3.
So the contract attorney is now 0? I thought you
That's-
said you reduced it.
Oh, no, we eliminated.
0 to justify attorney 3. So I want a contract attorney 0. Well, you don't need one now if you're going to hire a new attorney. Because I see that as a roving attorney, not only, the new case assignments, but as we know, we require now bail modification motions being filed, EM and various others, and also I think the contract attorney was doing arraignments, magistrate hearings, etc. Right, Steve?
No, that's correct, and that's what we're hoping to do with the attorney 3 position.
So I'd like to move that the request for a contract attorney fees be eliminated. And I don't object adding attorney 3 to replace the contract attorney.
Where is the contract attorney in the budget currently? Can you highlight that for me? What
Yeah.
page?
I'll do that.
In the request, there is none. We did originally put it under contractual. We had an amount that we whittled down to 84,000, but we removed it. So it's on page
I see
1
it.
62. Yeah, so it's zeroed out.
Yeah, the
No.
earlier we
Yes, on page,
So yeah, I see it in the bottom.
62 on the bottom of contractual.
Okay, all right. So it
I
is
don't
zeroed
object
out. So
adding the-
I
don't object adding the attorney 3, Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah.
they don't eliminate the contract attorney fees, okay? Because
Right.
then we're a lot of duplication of services and nothing better to do. There's 3 of our judges now just handle civil
Yeah.
cases.
Okay, and so I would put their request as help handle caseloads associated with the appointment of an 8th judge and the deletion of the contract attorney.
Okay. We'll
All
make
right,
that
just
change.
in terms of justification, when we're talking about the justification on it. All right, so is there any other questions? All right, so can we entertain a motion to approve the Public Defender Service Corporation budget request, deleting the 43,200 for the utilities from the request, and then also making clear that the attorney 3 position is not only for the caseload of the 8th judge, but with the deletion this year of a contract attorney services, which was funded last year.
Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion by presiding judge. Is there a second?
I can second.
All right, it's seconded by trustee Munya. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, there being no objection, that budget passes. And now we'll head to the last budget, which is a new budget, which of course is the funding of the indigent defense and the private attorney panel. And the fourth tier, when the private attorney panel is also conflicted or unavailable.
Thank you, Your Honor. The budget details for the private attorney panel can be found on page 100 to 104 of the board packet. Okay, so overall, the request, and to the point that the PJ had made, we can clarify what the operational budget is as far as it going to the fees. But we were looking at a personnel budget of 159,190. This covers the proposed positions of an administrative services officer and an accounting technician. We did look at these two positions based on discussions we are having with the AOC and the current operations of the private attorney panel. What we're doing currently is we put together a transition team that's looking at what needs to be done both operationally and, of course, policy-wise, should the bill pass and the new board be constituted at the timeframe that's proposed. And looking at that, the hiring of these personnel wouldn't come until the beginning of the fiscal year. So our transition team is trying to look at everything that needs to be done and put together as far as recommendations so that these two personnel can inherit and continue the work of transitioning the administration of the private attorney panel. We went with an administrative services officer because we did want applicants that had more experience in administrative processes to kind of oversee what was going on with the panel in its first year of operation. We do understand that if there is any expansion of personnel, those will be requested in subsequent budgets, but it's too early to tell whether or not we need to do that. The accounting technician, it's going to work closely, right, with our admin division and our fiscal section as far as receiving, processing, reconciling, and auditing of the payments and requests that come through for the private attorney panel. So we did need a fiscal position, not a higher level one yet, as far as transitioning the panel administration over. Should the future board look to expand policies or anything at that point, you know, we'd make those adjustments. But we feel that those two positions should help us transition those duties. We did budget approximately 28,000 for expert witness fees, and the balance of that, which is 1,450,000, would be for the fees that we paid to the panel.
Yeah, so we'll reflect that as contractual services on the summary instead of operations, even though it's under the operations category. Just to make it clear that it's contractual services for the attorneys of the one. And this is based on historical numbers that the judiciary has had, that's been funded by the Client Services Fund, and also the number of employees, which was 2 ASO and a technician, I think, are accurate in terms of the amount of time and personnel it will take to manage the private attorney panel, as you said, auditing the invoices, looking at the case history and processing the payments for them.
I've got a question.
Yes, Jackie.
No, I noticed that we have not integrated whatsoever potential equipment. So we're making kind of this budget with the anticipation. So am I assuming that we're subsuming these people into the operations at the PD, that we've got equipment for them, and that's the reason why we have 0 services on everything else?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Thank you.
Okay, and I have a question. You'll be responsible for any attorney fees during the new fiscal year, but the judiciary will still be responsible for any attorney fees up to the new fiscal year. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct. Anything after, on October 1st and on,
So we're still responsible for attorney fees prior to that, right?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then secondly, who determines who's going to be in the private attorney panel? Presently, it's the Chief Justice. Now with the private attorney panel being turned over to the public defender, will you be the one determining who gets into the private attorney panel, Steve?
Well, so I'm pretty sure that all the current panels will all remain in effect until the new board, if they promulgate rules or anything, but it really will be based on, I guess, the new board will develop standards on and a procedure to apply. But I'm pretty sure they're just gonna continue the current panels. I mean,
There'll
right
be
now,
the
The
Board of
CJ
Trustees, yeah, the new Board of Trustees will make ultimately the determination on the composition of the private attorney panel, whether they want to do contractual, whether they want to continue with the panel as it is. But I mean, we will make a recommendation that at least for a transitional period, the private attorney panel continue. But obviously, that's the independence of the new board, right? They make their decisions and they'll decide. I would be surprised if they did not continue the private attorney panel for some period of time while they sort through determining how they're going to go forward. Because it's going to be, that panel, the indigent defense panel almost collapsed last year, and we've just got it up again to a position where it is able to service the needs. And so we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where they're not able to provide the services to those that need it.
But I'm just questioning if I'm a new lawyer and I want to be part of the private attorney panel, who do I make the application to right now?
It'll end up until the
CJ
transition occurs. The transition under the bill, the transition is expected that after October 1st, all of the indigent defense will be handled by the independent Board of Trustees. So application will be made to them for inclusion on the private attorney panel after October 1st.
But that's assuming that the bill passes, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
what if it doesn't, nothing happens on October 1st? So what happens then?
Well, then it's status quo, right? I mean, I guess, but that's the status quo. The bill. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, but the finances will then be in charge. The public defender will then be in charge of.
No, because they won't be in charge of it if the bill doesn't pass.
So this is contingent on the bill passing.
Of course. Okay. Well, the budget amount is a separate request. The bill can pass independent of the budget. Be same like us. We're in charge of indigent defense. If it doesn't pass, if the bill today that's up for the public hearing, does and we're optimistic it will pass, but if Bill 9738 does not pass, then of course there will not be set up an independent Board of Trustees to govern the Public Defender Service Corporation or indigent defense. And there will, and obviously the legislature is not going to fund them if they don't have responsibility for it.
Yeah, so I guess the resolution should be contingent upon passage of the bill, right?
It can be, but I think there are two different questions, quite frankly. I mean, because the same with if the bill does not pass, the judiciary still has to deal with also the funding issue. Then we did not make a request in our fiscal year budget for indigent defense, anticipating that it was going to be in the Public Defender Service Corporation budget. So, and that's why we didn't, but that's why I feel that the funding issue was still going to have to be addressed by the legislature, independent of what happens with whether the bill passes or not. The funding is still going to have to be addressed.
So how come we're entertaining this motion then on the private attorney panel? If it should be a contingency upon the bill passing and the board members appointed, right?
Well, we can if you want to put that in the resolution, of course, but because this budget gets submitted May 1st and it's for the next fiscal year budget, and we're anticipating that the bill is going to pass in the next in the May session, and that the board will get stood up, and the transfer of the private attorney panel and indigent defense will go to the new board effective October 1st.
And this budget will apply to the new board, is that correct?
Correct, correct, correct.
But will the new board members get a stipend? Because we did provide for stipends.
We did
It
provide for
is
stipend.
provided in the public defender budget.
Yeah,
Okay, I would prefer to make it cleaner that if it would be provided in this contingency proposal.
Well,
Because
if it doesn't pass, the trustees that are currently there will get their stipends that do. So that stipend amount would be there.
But my objective is to make it a clean cut, between private attorney. I don't want the public defender, being messed up with the private attorney panel.
They're
Okay.
not, yeah, it's not mixed
Yeah,
up.
so I'm just concerned about the stipends and the transition.
No, well, but remember, if the bill passes under the administrative office of the PDSC, which is already provided for separately, the trustees, it includes the amount in there for trustees stipends.
yes, because my understanding, right, basically the PDSC board now becomes this trustee board. So that's subsumed in their operations already. In addition to, like we said, the rental obligations, the other employees that they're going to need, that's already subsumed in the current PDSC budget. So the PDSC budget basically takes the arm of the private attorney panel and adds it to its current arms.
The bill sets up 5 divisions within the Public Defender Service Corporation. So you have the PD itself, the APD, the CLC, and then the private attorney panel. Those divisions. But I think your point is well taken, PJ. We can make the passage of this budget contingent on Bill 97 38
Well,
passing.
Chief, if I may kind
Yes,
of
Jackie.
modify it instead of our approval, right? Because really, we don't have the basis to approve the budget for this private attorney panel. So can I recommend that we refer to it as a recommendation by the PDSC Board of Trustees to the legislature, that this amount be included in anticipation of the consideration of the bill, and then refer to the bill number?
That's fine.
It doesn't matter because it says the same thing, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's contingent upon the passage of the bill.
Mhm.
Yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter because it's whether the legislature will approve this. But yeah,
So can
it's our.
we put
we
that
can-
recommendation into this proposal?
Yeah. All right. So there's a motion to recommend that this budget for indigent defense in the amount of 1 million. Can you scroll down to the total? Total?
Yeah, score it down.
Yeah.
637.
1,637,390,000 be recommended to the legislature for approval to fund indigent defense for the fiscal year 2026. And
Based on the passage of bill number, whatever. that bill-
9738.
Yes. Move to
Okay.
approve. Move
All
to-
right, it's moved by presiding judge, second
Second.
by attorney Talai. All those in favor say aye.
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 There being no objection, that passes as well. All right, getting back to the agenda, we've now completed all the budgets. And we do
We
have
haven't
a,
approved the public defender yet, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the
oh,
public
yeah,
defender budget as amended.
okay. There's a motion. I thought we did approve that.
No, we did not.
Okay. All right, thank you for clarifying that. Or there's a motion to approve the Public Defender Service Corporation budget as we amended it, reducing the 43,200 in utilities. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by trustee Kanata. All those in favor say aye.
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 There being no objection, that budget also passes. All right, so now, anything on public discussion? All right, then, motion to adjourn, and we'll see you
move
at
to
the public
adjourn.
hearing this afternoon at the legislature.
Move to adjourn.
All right, second?
Second
By
it,
trustee
second it.
Kanata. All right, there being no objection, the Public Defender Service Corporation Board of Trustees meeting will now stand adjourned until our next meeting will be May 27th, 2025. Hopefully that will be our last meeting as Board of Trustees. We will see, and we're hoping it will be, because this is
I
an
doubt
important
it.
step for 6AC.
We'll probably last until June. The next year.
At least our 50th. right?
And make a motion that if the bill passes and it takes effect, that, that the public defender and APD provide a farewell party to the
Noted.
that party saying
Yes.
thank you for your
Well,
service.
PJ, all
PJ.
your years with public defender hopefully will come to an end soon.
Oh, thank you. I've been trying to push this legislation myself, but.
We do. It's not often you find people supporting legislation that terminates their existence, but that's what we're doing.
I
All
guess
right.
all the ladies aren't
All right.
voting.
Wait, they
All right.
didn't commit yet.
Adios.
And Steve did commit.
Bye-bye.
Party.
I noted it. We're
Thanks.